Hi, my name's Bruce Flanagan and you're watching The Buzz on Marketing and Media. Today I have Vaughan Ryan, the Managing Director of Nielsen in Vietnam. Welcome, Vaughan.
Thanks, Bruce.
So, good to catch up. Tell me a bit about Vaughan.
Yeah, well, I'm an Australian, born in Melbourne, a Melbourne boy, born and raised. I have 3 children, 2 daughters and a son. I'm married to a lovely wife. I have to say that on television every time. And I'm passionate about making the world a better place. And
Okay.
that's why I work for Nielsen.
Okay. So you grew up in Melbourne?
Yeah, grew up in Melbourne. I left Melbourne when I was about 24 and I lived in the US for 2 years.
Okay.
Spent a bit of time there. I did my Masters over there and then I moved back to Melbourne in 2000. I lived there until 2008.
Okay.
And moved up to Vietnam then.
Okay. How long have you been with Nielsen?
I've been with Nielsen now for 13 years. Prior to that, I worked in the alcohol industry for breweries, distilleries and wineries.
Okay. Excellent. So you've been on both sides of the
I have been on the client side.
divide.
Yes. The good and the bad.
Yeah. Excellent. And so what brought you to Vietnam?
Yeah, I guess for me, my wife grew up as an expat child.
Okay.
So she lived in Hong Kong, Tokyo and Paris, so she'd had an experience of it.
Right.
And we'd often spoken about it, and Nielsen gives you that opportunity. So I spoke to a boss at the time, and he said there's an opportunity in Vietnam. Right. People probably thought I was crazy in Melbourne at the time, but it's probably the best experience of my life.
Your wife had a positive experience then?
Loved it.
Okay.
Yeah, she really loved it. So it was a very easy move. Quite often when you make these moves, you have to convince the partner. I didn't have to convince my partner at all.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. So tell me about Nielsen in Vietnam then.
For sure.
What are they doing? What's the trends?
For sure. Nielsen's proud of the fact that we've been here for over 20 years now. We're one of the first 100% foreign-owned businesses in Vietnam. We've got offices in the 6 major cities within Vietnam, and we've helped train, develop and grow a very strong business here now. We've got a sustainable business that will be here for a long time.
Right.
We've got some great talent within the business, but we've also helped develop talent that's actually working for many of the major companies within Vietnam today. So it's a good thing. We're under the banner, we live to the banner of being an academy company, and we're proud of the fact that some of the most senior people within business in Vietnam are ex-Nielsen.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, sure. I've met a few myself. Yeah.
Sure. It's good and bad sometimes.
Yeah, right. Sure. Excellent. So what have been, since coming to Vietnam, and as opposed to being in the same business in Australia, what are the challenges?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a developing market, so it's very obvious some of the challenges, and it's just getting the talent around you to be sophisticated enough to drive it.
Right.
In markets that are a lot more developed, the clients challenge you a lot harder.
Okay.
And there's more challenges from them around the sophistication of their understanding of consumers.
Right.
So at Nielsen we talk about how we understand the consumer behaviour very well. In Vietnam, the clients are not challenging us as much as they were previously in other markets around that understanding of the consumer. And in many ways we have to be thought leaders and drive them into situations and into new processes. And we're really educating the market about the benefits of information and of big data and how to make it sound simple.
Right. So, in fact, that's probably a challenge that's become a strength, a positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We would consider this one of our unique selling points, if you like.
Yeah.
And what we do ask for a bit of a premium in price because we think we do, take the market. Yeah. And it's not so much about here's a cost. If you see research as a cost, then you're probably going down the wrong path. It really has to be for some improvement in your organisation. So it's an investment, and you should expect a return on that investment.
Right.
That's what we're very passionate about.
So who would be some of the key clients or the key industries that you guys focus on?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I was talking to someone about this the other day. Historically, about 60% of our business was driven by multinationals. Over the next 2 years, that'll do a complete swap, and our business will be driven by local giants, which is an exciting time, I guess, for Nielsen in Vietnam. Yeah, we still have the biggest manufacturers in FMCG, telco, technology, automotive, finance, pharmaceutical guys. media, and we're really proud of the fact that we've got a lot of clients on board. So
Right.
it's a bit of a who's who of the client base. We have over 180 clients that bought from us last year.
Okay, wow, that's
Yeah.
significant.
Yeah, it's great.
So what would be the greatest highlight for you in working in Vietnam in Nielsen?
I don't think there's one point where I can say it's my greatest highlight. I think just working here,
Okay.
you know, absorbing a different culture,
Mm-hmm.
enjoying the culture. What I love about the Vietnamese people and working with them is they're hardworking. They have a fantastic attitude to life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they
Yeah,
know
sure.
that hard work will deliver a reward.
Yep.
And it's not just about my university degree or my ambition. It's an acknowledgement that hard work will get me some way.
Right.
And I love the fact that I can work with people like that.
Okay, that's excellent. Yeah, sure. So how would you say yourself or Nielsen have been innovative? Or
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I speak to my team a lot about this. The world we live in today is changing faster than ever before.
yeah, absolutely.
You know, we on holidays recently we spoke about mobile phones, and I asked the question 10 years ago, how many of you around a table of about 10 people had a mobile phone, and only 2 of them did.
Right.
And then I said, how many had a smartphone 2 years ago, and 2 of them did.
Wow.
Yet we all have them now. We
Yeah.
live to them every hour of our day.
Yeah.
You know, I read a statistic recently that 80% of people pick up their mobile phone before their feet hit the floor in the
Right.
morning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a whole change in the way we
Sure.
live. For that reason, part of our innovation is not only in the way we deliver to clients, but it's in the collection of the information that we get and the various sources that we collect data today.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been able to use a lot of that technology to get data fast and deliver it back to clients in real time.
Right.
You know, in the month of December, we did over 250,000 store observations or interviews
Wow.
in Vietnam. That's a very impressive number when you consider the size of the market.
And predominantly using technology to drive that.
All technology,
Right.
all some form of handheld terminal
Right.
that we can actually get the information in real time. And being able to deliver that to the client allows them to make actions really quick. You know,
Yeah, sure.
clients want to make decisions faster.
Right.
They want us to be better at the deliverable, and they want to get value for money.
Right.
And you know, that's what Nielsen's been able to achieve. But we've got a long way to go. We know that. We recognise that as a company.
So you said before that it was a challenge at first, or you were educating the market on the value of research. So what's been the response from the big local companies or the local companies in that, and how have they embraced it and seen that it's beneficial to them?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's not just about measuring market share. It's about measuring opportunities for these guys. And you know, the Vietnamese people are actually becoming more open to buying locally made, and in some ways they want local. As a result, these local giants have to behave in a competitive sense against the multinationals.
Yes.
And one of the big elements of this is trust and quality. And if a local giant can deliver trust and quality,
Right.
they can succeed. And that's where we try and help them.
Right.
And to be honest, that's what research delivers to them. It's finding the opportunities for their business where consumers feel like they don't have that element of trust or that element of quality, and what areas they are expecting before they purchase from
Right.
that sort of that company. So we do a lot of work with local companies in that area, and we've been able to facilitate a lot of innovation for some of these guys. We've been able to identify opportunities, and we've been able to be partners of them while they've grown significantly over the last few years, and that's exciting for us.
So would you say then that in a sense the research industry has moved from looking backwards, which of course you use to predict the future, but in a sense to much more moving into opportunity and innovation, using the data and faster, like you said?
Absolutely. You know, I sat with a client the other week and they said they wanted to do a plan for 2020. And I said, I can't do a plan for the next 5 months. It's that difficult. The market's moving so fast. And that's that forecasting what's going to happen. Yes, using the current day, but the forecast will change and change and change so quickly. I don't really consider ourselves researchers. We use big information. And it may be a play on words, but we're an information company. And that's the real difference, because research in its traditional format means digging deep, getting down to it. Clients don't have time to dig deep anymore. They need quick and fast solutions.
So the interpretation of data, do you see that as a partnership with your clients, or how much do you diagnose and make recommendations, and how much do they interact with that, or how does that work?
For sure. I think in the when Nielsen was first here, and maybe for about the last 15 years, yes, that's been a big part of it. We've had to sit down and really go through every part of the data. But increasingly, manufacturers are asking for the answers and the solutions to the business questions.
Right.
They don't want us to be taking them through every piece of results.
Right.
And that's our job then, to be able to find them that needle in the haystack.
Right.
And that's what we try and do.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, great. So I know. So how long did you say you've been in Vietnam?
I've been in Vietnam since 2008, but I spent
Right.
a couple of years in Bangkok, where I led part of our team over there in Thailand.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from your perspective of being here that long, but being in an industry where you digging deep into the trends and so on, where do you see the market moving going forward, both in terms of research or information and the market in general?
For sure. I'm really bullish about Vietnam in general. I think it has an enormous opportunity here.
Okay.
You see this emerging middle class. There's natural comparisons to other Southeast Asian nations. It has great political stability here, and that really is a positive.
Sure.
It is one of the rare markets that could potentially compete with Singapore in the future. It has an enormous source of natural resources. Its export quality of products and materials that they're exporting around the world is really a big driver of some of the success.
Right.
And it has this incredibly fast-growing population.
Yeah.
65% of the population live in rural Vietnam. We haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg when it comes to urbanisation yet. So as a person that looks at Vietnam, I just see opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. As a result of that, in my own business, in our industry, the market is still very small for us today.
Right.
It has so much growth in front of it. The key to that is ensuring that we grow properly.
Right.
And we grow in a sustainable fashion and don't look for quick bucks. And that's where I challenge some of my competition, that we're in it for the long haul, not the short haul. And in Vietnam, from a Nielsen perspective, we're going to invest, and we're going to invest big to get long-term sustainable growth and grow our associates. And I guess, my key measurement of success will be the number of big leaders that come from Nielsen or are at Nielsen in the future.
Right. Excellent. So I was talking to someone else not long ago about the volume or revenue or amount spent on research information in Thailand compared to Vietnam. So you just said there's a long way to go, but how would it measure against Thailand?
Yeah, so we actually look at the advertising spend as a bit of a guide. So advertising in Vietnam is about $1 billion. And market research should be somewhere between 1.5% and 2% of total advertising.
Okay.
Right now we're about 0.5% of total industry, and so you can see there's an enormous opportunity. In Thailand, it's pretty close to maturity. It's at 2%. So there's bigger opportunities in Thailand still though, and it probably shows companies are making informed decisions now. They want to be able to quantify the opportunity prior to actually making the investment.
Right.
So research should actually grow in its importance. In markets like Japan, it's as high as 3.5%.
Right. So it's at 0.5% roughly. So is it growing? Is it increasing quickly, or?
The last 12 months have been challenging because predominantly we're driven by FMCG companies within Vietnam, and they've faced their first big obstacle in a number of years.
Right.
And some of the bigger guys have slowed down. That being said, we've had great growth. We just have to think outside the box with our solutions for clients and look at alternative streams of income to bring into our business, which we've been able to achieve.
Right. But that percentage you expect to grow closer to 1-2% going forward?
It has to. It has to as the market evolves
and matures.
Yeah, and increasingly people are more sophisticated in their consumer decision.
Yes.
When you make a big decision now, you're either looking at it online before you buy it, you're talking to friends, you're reading, you're watching. You're not going to the store for the first time uninformed.
Right.
For that reason, the companies in Vietnam need to understand what the decision trees look like for our consumers for them to be successful.
So you're the man with the information then. What's the trends for 2015? Yeah,
it's a big one. I think still traditional trade or the traditional market will continue to be a big player in Vietnam. About 85% of sales in the FMCG component is still driven by the traditional trade. Right. And fundamentally what drives that is the perception of quality and fresh food. So fresh, people still go to wet markets in the morning.
Sure.
Vietnamese love fresh produce.
Yeah.
That's why the food's so good.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that'll still continue to be strong. However, there's a number of emerging markets within Vietnam. One is the convenience channel.
Sure.
Culturally, Vietnam is taking a big step. Increasingly, more Vietnamese people are living alone or living away from the traditional large household of many families, and they're living in apartments. And you can see all the apartments growing in Ho Chi Minh City. For that reason, convenience is going to grow.
Right.
These people are time poor or increasingly time poor, and they're going to want stuff on the go. And we're seeing this with all the new convenience store growth across the market.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's doubled in importance. The second one is e-commerce. E-commerce is the emerging market. We all know this. We saw the Alibaba float.
Yeah.
You know, we see Lazada everywhere right now. I've
Yep.
seen them being, they're now available in Vietnam. There's a number of other players that are growing into the market.
Yes.
And, you know, particularly women shoppers want
Yes.
quality.
Yeah.
So those areas like cosmetics, you know, clothes,
Yep.
the unavailable components that are not here in Vietnam today will really be driven by that e-commerce. We spoke earlier, and I spoke about the mobile phone, but this thing is changing our lives.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And increasingly, we're living our lives with our phone.
Yep.
And I quite often joke, what would you prefer to lose? Your mobile phone or your wallet? And I think increasingly people, you don't want to lose either.
Yeah.
But if you had to, your wallet would be better to lose than your phone.
Right. Sure.
And I think that's the other emerging channel that we're seeing, where more Vietnamese are owning smartphones. You know, over 50% of women now in rural have a smartphone.
Right.
That's an enormous statistic.
And women in Vietnam tend to make the business decisions.
Exactly, yeah. They control the purse strings, so they're the ones that you need to win over if you're going to be successful.
Okay, interesting. So if you were meeting with some young people who want to enter the research information industry, what would your advice to them be?
Embrace change, love change. If you don't love change today, you have to love it for tomorrow. You have to find ways to do it. The market changes and evolves so fast, and if you can't change with it, you're going to struggle. You have to reinvent you all the time. So be a change lover.
Excellent. You said earlier that Nielsen is like an academy and has trained up a lot of people. So what is the response from the new entries into your company to the industry and to that call to embrace change?
Yeah, that's why people join us.
Right.
You know, we're changing, we're engaging, we're emerging as a different company every day. If you listen to our CEO and some of the comments he's made, it's all about embracing change.
Right.
It's the digitalisation of the world. You know, but that digitalisation has to happen so much faster than it did 5 years ago.
Right.
You know, we're talking months as opposed to years. And with that comes change in behaviours, and a change in the way that our customers want to see stuff, and the way our consumers want to see things as well. Our people have to embrace that. Yeah, and I think that's what they like.
How do you find that on the client side? I get when I talk with some of the creative advertising guys, they find their best creative ideas and so on are often rejected by the clients, much more conservative. Do you see the clients from the research perspective is similar or different?
No, I think clients are trying to embrace it themselves. You know, I think for the most part they get the importance of becoming digital. They get the importance of moving down this pathway, but they also understand you still have to be on the shelf to be sold. You still have to have a good price.
Yeah, sure.
You still have to be a good brand.
Right.
You know, you still have to have a quality product. And if you can't fill those, it doesn't matter what you do outside in a marketing sense.
Right.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know, consumers are smart. You know, they get it. There's more sources of information, right?
So if you were talking to industry leaders, clients, significant, what would you like to say to them?
Good question. I would say, like I said before, not just change for Nielsen and change for people. The market's changing and evolving, and you need to be informed.
Right.
And we have a bit of a saying, if you can't be measured, you can't fail.
Right.
But if you can't be measured, you can't succeed.
Okay.
And we want to help them by measuring their success and measuring the opportunity.
Right.
And I wouldn't walk away from a tough situation in Vietnam. I still see enormous opportunities. It requires investment, and none of us are here for 6 months for money.
Sure.
We're all here for the long haul. And if you develop your talent, you develop your teams, you have strong approaches, and you're willing to modify your model all the time, you'll be successful.
Okay. Excellent. You mentioned before about the difference between urban and country. So, is the country non-urban areas in Vietnam growing in terms of their spend, and are clients wanting to find out what's happening there as well?
Increasingly, people want to understand the rural Vietnam. You know, most businesses talk about 90 million people in Vietnam.
Right.
The reality is we're still playing in Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi and Hanoi. You know, if you really want to be successful here with the 90 million,
Right.
you've got to understand rural.
Yeah.
The challenge is logistics management.
Sure.
But it's nowhere near a challenge like it is in Indonesia with, you know, an archipelago country
so
of
spread out,
18,000
right.
islands. It's completely different. So the logistics isn't quite as difficult as people put it down to.
Yes.
I guess the key for companies in this part of the world is to understand that consumer behaviour. And if you can understand consumers in rural, you can understand the opportunity.
Right.
And they are different. They are unique. You know, the difference between northern rural people and the southern rural people,
Yeah, sure.
central, all have their unique components to them. You need to understand that. You need to understand the drivers. You need to understand the retailing background. You asked me about growth. The last 12 months have been pretty tough. You know, but they've been tough in Vietnam, full stop.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it's been a two-stream economy where exports have been great, but domestic demand has been
Yeah.
pretty low.
Yes.
So rural's slightly behind urban right now, but that urban's heavily influenced by Ho Chi Minh City.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So, any last comments? Anything else you'd like to share? Industry insight or something about your own experience?
You know, I would say to anyone, if you're thinking about investing in Vietnam and you're a little bit sceptical, you know, think about the bigger opportunity here.
Right.
This fast emerging middle class, this growing wealth, so many opportunities. This is a bit of the place to be. I really do believe that.
Excellent. Thank you very much,
No problems.
Vaughan. Great to talk
Thanks
to you.
for your time.
Great insights. I'm Bruce Flanagan, and you've been watching The Buzz on Media and Marketing.